Rob Douglas, who will be delivering his speech, 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys, Rob Douglas. The court is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure that all of you have at least heard of Darwin's theory of evolution. But the part about it that I think all of us find difficult to believe is that life on Earth started purely by chance. Life on Earth started and evolved purely by chance. In other words, without any direction by a higher power. It started spontaneously because the conditions were right. Now, there's one factor that I haven't mentioned, and that is the time frame. Because the evolutionary time scale is so vast that we really can't picture it, and we can't comprehend it properly in any meaningful way. So what I'm going to try and do is give you a little bit of perspective to make that a bit easier. I'm going to start by doing a timeline for you. Look here on the floor. This over here is the year 2020. If we go back just a tiny step, 2,000 years to the birth of Christ. Going back from there, 3,000 or 4,000 years of recorded history is all that we have. Another tiny step. Beyond that, no more history. But we do know that about 10,000 years ago, we started farming and we started domesticating animals. But beyond that, we can say that our species, Homo sapiens, has been around for 400,000 years. So farming and animals is very recent. 10,000 years, and we've been around for 400,000 years. Now that sounds like a long time, but in evolutionary terms, it's not really, because it hasn't even been enough time for our genes to change substantially. We are essentially as we were 400,000 years ago. So no wonder that so many of us have a problem with what's it called, gluten allergies from wheat and lactose intolerance. We weren't designed to eat those things. Before, for all of those 390,000 years, we've been eating meat. But, okay, the real big number we have to get our heads around is how long since life started on Earth. And that is 400 million years. So we've been around 400,000, life has been around 400 million years. I needed to take another small step for those 400,000 that we can get. Now on this scale that I've been drawing for you, where does 400 million years come from? That's what I really want to get across to you. I live in Waverley, and as I stand here on my left-hand side, the bottom of our garden is Savoy. On the other side of Savoy is Corlett Drive, and past Corlett Drive is Bramley, and after Bramley you get Weinberg. Alex is opposite. So 400 million years, I reckon somewhere on this scale, somewhere between Bramley and Weinberg. Does that give you a bit of a picture of the vast scale? We've been existing in this little bit here, and then stretching all the way to Weinberg is the rest of the 400 million years. Another way we can look at this to give you a better appreciation is to look at what kind of things could happen by chance in that time scale. Now, I think it was in the 1950s, the famous British scientist Sir James Jeans proposed this theoretical, hypothetical experiment. He said, take 12 monkeys and 12 typewriters. Each monkey has a typewriter. This was definitely BC, before computers. So they were using typewriters. Let's paint you a picture. Let's say that they're big, hairy baboons. 12 of them all sitting in a row, each one on a little white chair. In front of him is a little white table, and on the table is a typewriter. Let's make it an IBM golf ball typewriter. It was the transition from typewriters to computers. They were big and they were red, and they were very fast. So these 12 baboons, 12 monkeys are typing away as fast as they can. But what they're typing is completely random. They don't know what they're doing, but it is strictly random typing. And what James Jeans said was that if they carried on typing that way for 400 million years, they would, between them, write all the works of William Shakespeare. Now just think about that. How many millions and millions of times one of the monkeys would type a few words of Shakespeare, or maybe a sentence here and there, or a paragraph. In 20 million years, they might type one act, or maybe get to the end and leave out a word, one word in the whole act, and then it doesn't count. And on for 400 million years. It gives you some idea of just what can happen in that extent of time. So, how does that tie up with evolution? The way evolution works is that there are small random changes to our genes that happen over the millennia. If a change happens to be favorable for the creature, then that creature will thrive. If the change is detrimental, that creature might die out completely. So that's called natural selection or survival of the fittest. That's the way evolution works. And it's by this process that gradually, over eons of time, this process has constructed the amazing complexity of the mammalian body and the human mind. And I hope that I've illustrated for you that there is actually sufficient time for life on Earth to have started and evolved completely by chance. Mr. Toastmaster.